I'm Craig Hearn, and I'm joined, as usual, by our MLS expert, soccer syndicate scout, Brooks Lambier. Today, Brooks and I will be talking about the 2021 MLS Cup Final as NYCFC won on penalties, and we'll also chat about FC Cincinnati's new head coach. All right, Brooks, it's been an exciting week in the MLS. As I just said, NYCFC took the MLS Cup. FC Cincinnati have a new coach. But let's start with that MLS Cup and the final there in Portland. What a game. What were your thoughts on the game, man?
Very interesting. We both thought Portland was going to win and there was an advantage there. And I think in the first half, it seemed like Portland might get one or, they had chances to create it kind of in the first 10 minutes. It really wasn't, it was kind of NYCFC on the front foot. And then Portland had it, for 10, 15 minutes. And then all of a sudden NYCFC, they draw a foul. It's off a free kick set piece. No one marks Castellanos, the golden boot winner on the back. They lose them in the scrum. And, unfortunately listen, I love Steve Clark and I think he makes a lot of great saves, but I think that was one that as a keeper and me being a former keeper is understanding is that, there's times in big games where you have to come up with one or two big saves that are, they're going to keep the game tight or that can change the tide of a game. And, unfortunately, he just missed it. He got down and just got under him. But the lack of defending and losing Castellanos, the important player for NYCFC that scores all their goals is unacceptable.
Absolutely. You can't, on a set piece like that, you can't lose track of the golden boot winner, man. The guy finds a way to get to the ball, pops up at the right spot, heads the ball, and he does what all forwards and everybody's taught to do actually on a soccer field. When you get a header on goal, head the ball down, try to hit the end line, right? Try to hit that line, and he did it, and he headed the ball straight down. I think it caught Clark by surprise a little bit. He tried to get down. He got his hands to it a little bit, but not enough, and scooted by him. And I'll agree with you. Should he have saved the ball? Probably should have saved that. And that's in a big game situation. That's what you're asking of your goalkeeper, to make those type of saves. A little bit of bad luck for him. Bad luck or just bad defending from Portland altogether for missing out on marking Castellanos.
Yep.
I thought in the first half it was a little bit of back and forth. The game was in the midfield kind of. It looked like both teams were, I don't want to say sitting back, but didn't want to get too stretched. They didn't want to stretch themselves out. They didn't want to lose the game in that first half. What really surprised me was overall, the two teams compared was NYCFC's speed. I thought they were just quicker to the ball. They were quicker overall. They couldn't take advantage of too many things off the ball without the dead ball situation. But overall, a very controlled game, I thought, in that first half.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think that's the one thing with Portland is just age. I think the average age of the players they had was like 31 or 30.
Yeah.
So, they're an older team, but you can't, who's better than Diego Chara as the number 6 to go? Did you see how many times he tracked back in the second half or when he had to for 30 yards and just take the ball? He does that every game. Yeah. And he's 35. It's like, oh, he's lost a step. Like, it doesn't look like he's ever lost a step. And he's so clever in the way he waits for someone to take the touch, and then he gets his body in between the ball and the player, and he doesn't foul. Like he does foul, but like in those moments where he's got to track someone and chase someone, he's clever. And with him, and then Mora missing some chances in the first half and a few in the second, and then but obviously capitalizing in the one late in the second half to tie the game. Asprilla didn't really show. Blanco was fine, but they had to take him off, because he was hurting a bit in the second half. George Forshive wasn't bad for them. Paredes brought a little something different in the second half when they subbed him on. But it's just sometimes in those big games, you want some younger guys like the James Sands of the world and the Tavon Grays to have some fresh legs. And, it's funny. It looked like, NYCFC was gonna, hurt them because, they spent so much time, with that overtime and PK game, and it looks like in against New England, and Tavon Gray was going down and looked like he couldn't handle it. Then they come back and they beat Philadelphia in Philadelphia and show some resilience. And credit to Ronnie Dyla. I mean, that's not easy to bring a team, and he got rid of some players, and he kind of just restructured the culture. And they kind of, it was great to find that. And Sean Johnson was a guy I never really rated early on in his career, but I think he's definitely come on as he's gotten older at making bigger saves. And, some guy I respect a little more. I didn't think he was terrific in the Chicago Fire days, but he's definitely turned the corner a bit with NYCFC, and just maybe the experience and just, understanding as you get a little older and wiser.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to go back and mention real quick Diego Chara, who you mentioned there. Man, I couldn't agree more with you. I don't care if he's 35. He acts like he's 22, the way he's running all over the field. The guy runs his socks off. Yeah. There was a stint in the middle of the second half, maybe towards the end of the second half, where he was tracking back. He won the ball. He made a great pass. And then about 40 seconds later, he hacked someone down. And I think it might have been Taylor Twellman on the call went, after what he did just there, tracking the ball down, making a great pass, and then hacking someone down. It's like, that's Diego Chara in a nutshell. That's what he does. And that's what, and it is. Taylor Twellman was absolutely 100% spot on. That's Diego Chara. He's got a little bit of nastiness to him. But, I mean, the guy runs his socks off. And to be honest, he could have been player of the match the way he was running and moving the ball around. I thought NYCFC were a little unlucky towards at the end of the second half there with that goal in the 94th minute to give up. I think Portland, I don't want to say it was a foul, but it might have been a foul. I've heard a lot of people. It was a, I don't know.
He was going off for the ball. I mean, the discrepancy was, obviously it didn't look like he was playing the ball, but his head was up looking for the ball. He couldn't see the man. Yeah. Does the NYCFC defender obviously have an argument? Of course he does. If you look on the replay again over and over again, but listen, you have to deal with those moments, and that's just how sports are. I mean, there's like those little moments you can't. The tough part with replay, which I think we've gotten so used to with all the sports in America, is that you can't correct everything. There still needs to be some naturalness to the game, of like, oh, he missed, and obviously people say, well, it was a game-changing decision. It was definitely, because if they call that, then the game ends and NYCFC wins 1-0. Right. It's tough, I mean, it's tough on a referee, but I thought the referee actually was pretty consistent in the game, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I saw some negative comments afterwards on Twitter about the referee, and overall I thought he did an okay job. Besides that last call, which, like you said, could have been a foul, but you know what? I'm fine. He didn't get the call from VAR to take a look at it, so he's assuming he made the right call. Besides that last call, everything, I thought he was fine. I thought he did a fine job on the game, so I'm not sure why people on Twitter were bashing the ref. Obviously, then the last goal in the 94th minute, almost the last touch of the game, pretty much sends the game into overtime. We played two 15-minute halves, a 30-minute total. I thought NYCFC really the first 15 minutes kind of sat back a little bit. They looked shell shocked. Obviously, they expected to win in regulation there. They didn't. But then the second 15 minutes of overtime, they came out, and I thought they were the team that was going to go at it and really get a goal and push. They looked like they wanted it. So I'm not surprised that even though they didn't get that goal, that they did win on penalties for two reasons. They were the ones who were gung-ho and ready and really wanted it and showed it. And then in those penalty kicks, man, Sean Johnson, he came up huge, big time. Unfortunately, Steve Clark really wasn't close to any of those kicks, penalty kicks. So I don't know what your thoughts are on the overtime and the penalty kicks, but I thought the team that overall played the best, was looking to get ahead in the game and play soccer, did win the game.
Yeah. And like I said before, like Portland is the team that sits back and is a transition team, and that's when they're at their best. That's when this team, honestly, for the last how many ever years, with the way they've played, I mean that's how it's been, and
Mhm.
they had the players to do that, and overtime was interesting because of the subs they had made at the end of the game. I mean,
Yeah.
you didn't really have any. I mean, they had to put Santiago Moreno and right back, and you had the center back still in, and you had Bravo you know what I mean. But you had
Yeah.
so many. You had Valerian. I mean, it was really like a team that was not set up like in people in their natural positions. I mean, and uh, for me, it was kind of having worked for Portland for 6.5 years. I mean, it was a little crushing to see Diego Valeri not convert his penalty kick, because he's always been very consistent at converting his penalty kicks.
Mm.
And unfortunately, the one by Mora was just not taken well. It was very telegraphed.
Yep. Yep.
And as we saw against New England, Sean Johnson made some big PK saves. So, but I think when I watched the game, I knew that Portland was going to have to score, because I think if it got to penalties, it was going to lean towards NYCFC with
Yeah.
just with having Sean Johnson and their PK takers. And again, I'm a big fan of Steve Clark, Oakland University alum, from Hazlitt, Michigan, and I'm always rooting for the Michigan guys. It's just PKs, he has made some saves, but he's just not consistent with it.
Yeah.
And you think, when you prep for a game like that in a big game, you have to think about, well, is it going to be PKs? Have you done your research? And and again, I was a keeper. PKs aren't easy. It's if you guess the wrong way, you don't read things right. It's
Right.
very difficult. So,
Yeah.
but I mean, you're right. I mean, I thought Portland came out. They kind of had the momentum in the first overtime, and I think they fairly kept it, for the second overtime. But again, like, Niazgoda had a chance to convert, he didn't, and there were just multiple times where they could have, kind of finished it off, and
Yeah.
they didn't. And unfortunately, that's how soccer is sometimes. So can't do
Exactly,
anything
man.
about it.
Exactly. That's the way it is. That's the game of soccer, man. And it was a very close game. Overall, I thought it was a very good game. I
Yeah.
was pleased with it. I was entertained. I haven't seen the statistics on it for viewers because it was on 3 o'clock Eastern time on ABC main channel. So I haven't seen the numbers, but I can
I think it
assume they were
said,
all right. I assume it
I think
was
on
good.
Twitter it said 1.14
Ooh, very nice.
million.
That's good.
So
That's good.
yeah, so those are pretty good. That was one of the higher ratings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. Great. I mean, that's awesome. More people are tuning in.
Yep.
What we did for the playoffs was we had the MLS bracket challenge. All right, I'm going to put up the final results here, Brooks. I'm a little surprised at one or two people where they fell, and then I'm very not surprised at all at where another person fell. So here's the results. So I apparently finished first, and I don't know. I don't know how that happened because we both tied on 100 points, but I think it might have come down to goals. So apparently I finished first. I'm not going to win the prize. So we are going to give the prize to the person who finished second, which is Alex Striker 23. You and I believe we know who this is, but I'll have to look it up and then contact him. And he will win a $25, I think it was $25 we were going to give Visa gift card. So I will mail that to Alex Striker for finishing second. But first overall, Brooks, you finished fifth on 55 points. At least I was hoping you'd finish ahead of Don Garber's balls, but apparently you didn't. He finished fourth.
Yeah,
I love that.
It's just a luck, it's just with we talked about in these playoffs, it's just, you just don't know. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I really thought with Vancouver's momentum that they would knock out SKC, and who the heck would have picked RSL to make it to the conference finals? I mean, I know they had a lot of momentum, but the way that Seattle has been such a great team in the playoffs. I mean, if you think all the stats, if people don't know this, Cascadia teams between Portland and Seattle in the last like 6 to 8 MLS Cups, it's been either of those two teams out of the Western Conference. It's been Seattle more, but like, so it was Portland in 18, it was Portland this year in 2021, and it was Portland in when they won in 2015. And the rest of the time, it's been Seattle coming out of the Western Conference to making it to the MLS Cup. So, like, between those two teams, I mean, geez, you might as well just pick them every time to make it to the Western Conference Final. So who thought RSL was going to do that? And then, I mean, I had faith in, like, I thought Nashville could have made a run, and you know, I really thought this was New England's year, but curse of the Supporter Shield, man. You know, it's just the best team every year doesn't always win MLS Cup, and I think the team that's won the Supporter Shield has won like 6 or 7 times the MLS Cup.
I think it's seven times out of 20, 28 now, 29, whatever it is. Yeah, they've won, but that's it. So the best team in the MLS regular season has only gone on to win the MLS Cup 7 times out of 29, 28, 29. Yeah, that's nutty. You're absolutely, that's right. That's nutty. I am very happy that you did finish above Nate. Nate from We Are Soccer there finished 7th last overall. So I showed him this yesterday. And the only thing he could say was drats, and then a few swear words, because his goal was to finish above you, and he did not do that. So sorry, Nate. And there's no consolation prize either for finishing last. So Nate wins nothing. All right. The other news that's happened this week that we want to chat about, Brooks, is that one Pat Noonan, formerly of IU. He was a player there at Indiana University and a very good player. I played against him several times, as you and I talked about beforehand. But Pat Noonan was named the new FC Cincinnati head coach this past Tuesday. The move sees Noonan reunited with Cincinnati GM Chris Albright. The two worked together at the Philadelphia Union for the past 4 years. Albright was the technical director, and Noonan was the assistant coach under Jim Curtin. The Union won the Supporter Shield in 2020 with the best regular season record. Prior to his stint in Philadelphia, Noonan was the assistant in the LA Galaxy with Bruce Arena, and then followed Arena to the U.S. men's national team for a year. So he's been coaching. He's spent a total of 18 years in the MLS now as a player and as a coach. So he's got the experience. He knows how the league works. He's been in a lot of different roles. You and I had talked previously that he'd interviewed for several head coaching roles. This is finally one where he landed. What are your thoughts on Noonan at FC Cincinnati?
I think it's the right decision for Chris Albright. It's a guy he can trust. It's a guy, you know, they can have a plan coming in. And kind of like you've read off, I mean, he's been with the LA Galaxy, the U.S. men's national team with Bruce Arena. He's worked under Jim Curtin, and he's kind of at both sides of MLS, to be honest with you. It's kind of been LA Galaxy with all the money because they were the money team, you know, when Bruce and Ziggy were there. And then he gets the national team working with some top players and, you know, coaching against tough international competition. And then going to Philadelphia, and they don't spend a lot of money on outside players. They do a lot of with their academy and developing players. And they kind of, you know, they're not a big budget club. And, you know, he's kind of seen everything, and now we're going to Cincinnati where he is, and they want to spend money, but, you know, they also want to develop, you know, some players for their academy. So it'd be interesting to see what Chris and Pat kind of really look to see, you know, what can we do with our academy players, and how can we develop a pyramid within our club to move the academy kids into the reserve team, and then the reserve team to the first team. And what's the mixture? Is it, you know, they have a lot of international players that just seem to not really click together the past couple of years. So what's the right mixture of domestic and international? I think the domestic coaches we've talked about with Cincy was a good move. I think the international coaches that don't understand the league really struggle. So Pat's played in the league. He understands college soccer. He understands, you know, obviously the academy setting now. He, you know, being with Philly and their academy, like I've said. So this is a good decision. I think it was time for Pat to get a job and to see, you know, what he can do. He's been mentored by a lot of great people. So I think, you know, if I'm at FC Cincy and I'm a fan there, I like the hire, and I like the direction the team's moving in. Now, what players are they going to acquire, and again, how are they going to structure their academy? You know, is a guy like Larry Sunderland gonna run everything at FC Cincy, who's the academy director, or is Pat and Chris gonna step in and say, hey, we're changing a little, you know, you'll still run things, but we're gonna do things a little differently. You know, FC Cincy tend to not in their academy level play exactly like the first team does. So, that's going to be interesting to see, if there's a structure of playing style up through the academy into the first team, to see what they do.
That's an interesting topic you bring up there, because a lot of the European teams now have started to do that. They've started to put a sporting director in as the head of everything, and he dictates down how teams are going to play. So he tells the first team coach, this is how you're going to play. He tells the reserve team coach, this is how you're going to play. We're all going to play the same style. We're all going to play the same tactic and same formation. It's going to be interesting if Chris Albright and Pat Noonan decide to do that, because the good thing about doing that is you can groom kids up into the first team, right? So if you decide to play a high press and a 4-3-3, those kids learn how to do it in the youth team, in the youth setup, and then they come up, and once they get to the next level and the next level within the club, they know exactly what's expected of them, no matter where they're at within the club. So you're right. That is a great that's a great call. That's maybe, to be honest, that could be a whole separate video that you and I need to talk about there. Another item
I will say
up.
this, sorry, before I move on, is that Larry has a good track record. I mean, he did a lot at Chicago, like Harry Shipp and a lot of the early on homegrown players that Chicago signed. Like, he brought those kids in and really, built up that academy. At Portland he did as well, and then him moving on to Cincinnati. It's been an adjustment, starting out in a brand new academy, but he's done very well there. But that's just the question, is it's always within every club, like we've talked about, is it the sporting director that's going to have control and say, or is it going to be a very much of a group decision? And that's always the question within clubs. Is it a group decision? Is it a single person? And there's always ebbs and flows with how things are done in clubs.
Yeah. And time will tell. If someone within the club leaves in the next couple of weeks, next couple of months, within the year, then obviously they weren't on board with the plan. I do want to hit upon another point you brought up. It's a little bit of a departure from what FC Cincinnati have had in the past. They had Jaap Stam, obviously, and they had a very international style of. They tried to go the international route.
Yep.
And you and I have talked about this a lot, but that can't happen in the MLS. You need to have a GM, and you need to have a coach in place who know the American system. They know the college system. They know how USL works. They know the lower tiers of soccer here in America. They know how to get players and how it's played.
Soccer works.
Yeah, I mean, that's how it has to happen here in America. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. We've seen a lot of international coaches come into the MLS, and it's just not worked out. I'd say it's very low percentage that you bring an international guy in who doesn't know the league and the system, and he succeeds. It's a low percentage. So FC Cincinnati went in the opposite direction. They hired Chris Albright, former technical director at the Union. And now they've gone for an American coach who played in the MLS and coached this is assistant coach in MLS and coached in the U.S. men's national team setup. So it's a different direction. And I hope they do well. I hope Pat Noonan does very well. I think he's kind of earned that right. As you said, he's earned that right to get a full-time head coaching job and not be an assistant anymore. So and Cincinnati, such passionate fans, crazy fans. It's such a great soccer city that, man, you can't help but root for them.
Exactly. And the new stadium is crazy.
Yeah, it looks awesome. That's on my bucket list. I got to get down to see that stadium in the next year or two. Well, lots of stuff happening. Lots of players moving around now that we're just kind of into the off season here. You and I have talked about it. Probably in the next week here, we'll do another MLS roundup with players who swapped teams, trades that have happened, potential rumors that are flying around. So MLS never stops, and we are 8 weeks, 6 weeks, whatever the heck we are, away from the 2022 season firing up. It just,
also even sooner for MLS teams, because CONCACAF Champions League, some of them start a little sooner. You know what I mean? Right. So it's they did the drawings for that today, I think.
Yeah, I mean, lots to talk about. All right, man. Well, we'll wrap it up today. We'll come back in the next week or two with a lot more videos. We're going to talk about specifically the MLS, players that are moving, some of the rules, some of the the funny ins and outs of the MLS. But then also we're going to ask you about the Soccer Syndicate. We're going to do a video on. You're going to tell us exactly what it is you do for MLS clubs and lower level clubs as well, because I'm really interested. So that'll be a fun one.
Yeah, always happy to share.
All right, man. Brooks, thank you again for your expertise and your insight into the MLS. Very much appreciate it. And we'll see you next week, buddy.
Thank you, Craig. Looking forward to it, bud. Take care.
All right, man. Cheers.
Cheers.